Why would the narcissist be submissive? Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. From time to time, I'm asked in consultation by my numerous clients a question about the submissiveness of the narcissist. Invariably, this arises in the sexual domain, where the question is posed, but H.G., why would a narcissist be submissive? I would have thought that they always need to be dominant. They need to assert control, don't they? And therefore, that would mean that they would need to be dominant. That thought process is logical, but there is more to it, as I shall explain. Ordinarily, of course, within the sexual domain, most narcissists, whether somatic or elite, act in a dominant fashion. This is because their need for control, their sense of entitlement, absence of boundary recognition, lack of accountability, absence of emotional empathy, often with grandiosity and haughty, make them ideal for the role of a dominant. There are, of course, people who have the role as a dominant who are not narcissists. They can be found within normals, and even some empaths who are able to, in effect, take on the mantle of being a dominant for the purposes of that particular section of an interaction between them and somebody else in the sexual arena. In effect, it's like an actor or actress going on stage, that they adopt the mantle of being the dominant purely for that interaction between the two in the sexual arena. Often, however, empathic individuals find it somewhat incongruous for them and find it uncomfortable. Normals, less so. But it is, invariably, the narcissists that are the ones that discharge this role as a dominant with excellent aplomb and considerable effectiveness, because it feeds into what the narcissist needs by way of the prime aims and is also commensurate with the mindset and the dynamism of the narcissism. Being able to order somebody around fits with the assertion of control. Causing them pain and not caring about it is the absence of emotional empathy. Possibly going too far is the absence of boundary recognition. Not holding back, the absence of accountability. Dominating somebody, shouting at them, humiliating them, calling them names fits with the haughty behaviour. And therefore, especially with somatic and elite narcissists, those particular cadres, dominant behaviours are at the fore. But there are some narcissists that adopt a submissive role when it comes to the sexual arena. And whilst that may seem as somewhat diametrically opposed with the needs and behaviours of a narcissist, it's not quite so. But why does that happen? Why is it the case that some narcissists are submissive in the sexual arena? Well, first of all, it isn't actually about them relinquishing control because they have decided that they are the one that wishes to be submissive. If, for example, with that particular narcissist, you immediately started ordering him around and saying, "Get on your knees, you miserable little worm," and binding his hands together and his ankles together and perhaps slapping him and spitting on him, he didn't decide that he wanted to do that, and therefore you're likely to meet with resistance because your behaviours amount to a threat to control. But if that narcissist tells you, "I want you to tie me up, I want you to spank me, I want you to degrade me and humiliate me, I want you to engage in particular behaviours that are denigrating and degrading," then, in such circumstances, because the narcissist is the one that's telling you that that's what they want, they actually still retain that control. Although, of course, you're the one that is behaving in a domineering and dominant fashion towards them with the relevant behaviours, the fact is they have in effect consented. They are the ones that have instructed you to perform this way, and therefore they have the overarching control. It is in effect as if they have the umbrella of control, but within it and underneath it, you are allowed to control them, but only because they are allowing it. You have not been able to do it off your own bat, of your own volition. So if you will, think of a room, and within that room you can do anything that you want towards that narcissist. Thus, you in effect have that control. But you have to be allowed into that room to begin with by the narcissist. You can't just walk in. The narcissist has to give you that consent, that permission, that approval for you to cross that threshold. And then once you're inside, you may dominate the narcissist. And therefore, the submissive narcissist still actually has control because they have consented to placing you in that position. That is one of the main reasons why a narcissist will be submissive, yet is still able to achieve the prime aims. They have instructed you to do this, therefore they are in control. Your responses provide fuel. They may gain character traits, and they get the residual benefits, the physical delight of being humiliated in the way that they are. Another reason why this happens is because it provides a form of relief to the narcissist. As you know from my work, the narcissist needs the prime aims: fuel, control, character traits, and residual benefits. And control and fuel are the most two important aspects. When conscious, there is a near constant need for the narcissist to assert control. So, the narcissist wakes up and his partner speaks to him. He must control that person. He goes down to breakfast and sees the children. He must control them. A delivery comes to the door. He must control the delivery driver. Somebody texts him. He must assert control over the sender of the text. Someone telephones him. He must assert control over the person that's telephoned him. When he's driving his car to work, other people on the road are coming on his radar, and they must be controlled by one of the three methods of the assertions of control. At the office, each and every person that engages with him, whether sending him an email, coming to talk to him, ringing him up, must be controlled, again through the three assertions of control. Moment after moment after moment after moment, this control must be put in place. Now, of course, the narcissist is designed to do this, and therefore, of itself, it's not exhausting. However, if the narcissist is being repeatedly wounded and challenged again and again by the various appliances in the fuel matrix, of course, the narcissist always gets to a point of control, because the third assertion of control, withdrawal, always allows that. But to begin with, the narcissist is likely to try and assert control over the relevant individual directly. And if it fails, they may try again. And if it fails, they may try again, until such time as their narcissism shunts them onto the second assertion of control, and that may well succeed, indirect. And if that does not, it then shunts them onto the third assertion of control, withdrawal, which always allows that control to be obtained. But then they have to deal with somebody else, and they might threaten control in some way, and they have to be dealt with similarly, going through the motions that I've just described. And if a particular narcissist, and especially those which are more passive-aggressive, namely the mid-rangers, find themselves in these repeated situations, it starts to cause a problem for them, because their abilities are being stretched, and it starts to drain their resources. And in the circumstances, this manifests as a manner by which that necessity of always asserting control starts to take its toll upon them. The general need to do so is not exhausting, as I've explained in a separate video, but where the narcissist is being challenged over and over and over again, maybe by a wife that sees through his behaviours, by unruly children, by a boss that's causing him problems, by interaction with other narcissists, of course, that threaten control, this starts to take its toll on the narcissist. And therefore, the narcissist needs to seek relief from that constant need, or near constant need, for control, especially where it's being challenged. And therefore, what happens is the narcissist, again asserting control by relinquishing control, seeks an hour or two's respite by being submissive. This, of course, isn't just the preserve of narcissists. In a slightly similar form, non-narcissists do this, where they seek relief from responsibility. I had an intimate partner secondary source who was a single mother, and her son was autistic. She therefore had the responsibility for funding the household, keeping down a job, looking after him in difficult circumstances, and running a household. This was strenuous for her. And she enjoyed nothing more than meeting me once a week for me to tie her up, spank her bottom with a paddle, and cane her, because it allowed her to be relinquished of her responsibilities. She didn't need control in the way of a narcissist, but she needed relief from the imposing responsibilities and obligations that she had in day-to-day life, and therefore giving herself to me with her consent, enabled her to escape those pressures, if only for a couple of hours. By analogy, certain narcissists escape the repeated need for control where there are many threats to their control by being submissive. It is an oasis of relief amongst the tumultuous need to assert control. Of course, they still have that overarching control because they are the ones that have consented to its provision, but they behave in a submissive manner as part of that need for relief. Submissiveness in a narcissist, of course, needn't just be in a sexual arena. It can be in other aspects, but it's commonly where it takes place, and I focused upon that aspect in this particular video. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.